Hello everybody, I'm David with Service Matters Property Management. This is episode 7 of your Property Moments coming to you December 1, 2023. That's right, we are in the middle of the holidays. We're in the home stretch to end out the year. I really can't believe it's almost over. And for this, our last episode of 2023, we are talking about pets. Pets are really a kind of sticky issue for both renters and for landlords. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about these creatures that we bring along with us, our fuzzy friends, from both the perspective of being a renter, but also from the perspective of being a homeowner, a landlord. So let's start from the perspective of a renter first. And I want to make a couple of just broad general statements about pets. And then we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts. So the first thing that I would say is if you are a short-term renter, right? Like if you're going to be renting for the next 7 months, maybe a year, maybe even up to 4 years. I know that can seem like a lot of time, and it is in some ways, but I guess if there's just a horizon out there where you know, hey, at this point, I'm no longer going to be renting. I'm going to own my own home. I'll be doing something else. If you're a short-term renter, then just pass on the pets. I know that pets bring a lot of joy to our lives. I have a dog. I love my dog. But when you're renting, there's a lot of responsibility, right? You're there, you're taking care of someone else's property, someone else's home, and there's a lot of burden in that in and of itself. And when you add a pet to the mix, you're just adding additional burden to your life. You're adding additional liability to your life. So just cut that out, wait, and then once you're in your final spot, once you're in your own home, then look to get that pet, right? But there are a lot of you out there who are long-term renters. You've decided that renting is the lifestyle for you, or for the foreseeable future, it's the lifestyle for you. And so understandably, you would like a furry friend to come along with you. Again, I know pets can bring a lot of joy into our lives. So what about all of you? Well, first, right, let me just say this again at the outset. Be upfront and open with a prospective landlord about the kinds of pets that you're bringing with you. It doesn't matter whether it's a 100-pound dog or an aquarium full of fish or a hamster in one of those really elaborate hamster cities. Whatever your pet situation is, let the landlord know. Let the landlord make the decision about whether or not those pets are going to be okay. Because as innocent as your hamster may be, right, there is a universe where your hamster gets out of his pen and finds his way into the walls of that home and decides that his new favorite food is electrical wiring, and he just eats it all up, right? And you don't want to be responsible. Well, you're going to be responsible either way because it's your pet, but you don't want that to be the first interaction where your landlord finds out that, oh, you had a hamster, right? And he likes copper wiring. So just be upfront. It's going to put you in a good position with that landlord, and let them make the decision. Yes, I'm okay with that pet. No, I'm not okay with that pet, right? Now, beyond that, let's talk a little bit more of the nuts and bolts, right? First things first, skip the exotics, right? The lizards, the snakes, the chinchillas, the sugar gliders. Just forget all of those exotic pets. There's a lot of stigma around exotic pets. Nobody knows anything about exotic pets except for you, the person who's going to be purchasing that pet. And for that reason alone, landlords are going to be wary about letting that pet into their house. Even as cute as a sugar glider may be, right? Those homeowners, they know what a dog is like. They know what a cat is like. They don't know what a flying squirrel is going to do. So skip the exotics. That's the first key. Second key, be mindful of the number of pets you're bringing with you, right? 1 pet is plenty, 2 at the most. The moment you start accruing army of chihuahuas, landlords are going to start getting wary. Most landlords would rather have a single 100-pound dog in their house than 7 5-pound Chihuahuas, right? The more pets you're bringing along, the more apprehensive that landlord is going to be about allowing you to rent the home, the more likely you're going to end up having to search for longer and longer to find that home that's going to fit your needs. Lastly, be aware of the breeds of dogs that you're looking into. There are a lot of dogs that, for better or worse, have landed themselves on what are referred to as restricted breeds lists. These are lists that insurance companies have put together of dogs that either, one, they just don't want in the home at all. They'll drop coverage of a home because a dog on this list is there. Or two, they'll jack up the price of insurance if one of the dogs on this list is in the home. Now, there is not a universal restricted dogs breed list out there, right? Every insurance company is a little bit different, has their own list of breeds that are restricted. But you can do a quick Google search and get a general sense of what types of dogs are going to either be denied or would cause a homeowner to have a higher insurance premium. And in turn, because that insurance premium is going to get higher or because the homeowner might lose coverage altogether, they're not going to want that type of dog in the house. So avoiding those restricted dog breeds is going to help you, and there will still be plenty of breeds left for you to choose from that'll be great pets as well. So generally, again, just broad strokes, we just want to make sure that when you're looking at pets and the number of pets that you want to bring along with you as a renter, that you're mindful of what it is you're asking of landlords, right? It's really not a safe bet to ask a landlord, can I bring my tiger with me, right? So just be reasonable in your requests, both in terms of the types of pets that you're going to be bringing with you and the number of pets. And that should really help you to keep the number of options available to you as large as possible, right? Now, let's talk about pets for a second from the perspective of landlords. I know a lot of you landlords out there have had bad situations with pets, or you know someone who's had a bad situation with a pet, right? You go into that house and all of the baseboard is chewed up, or maybe a tenant allowed their pet to urinate all over the floor and they never cleaned it up, and so the house has this awful stench through it, right? And of course, we want to minimize those types of situations from happening. And so what do? Well, we just decide the way that we're going to keep those horror stories from happening to us is by just eliminating pets in general. We just turn our house into a no-pet home. And of course, that is your right as a landlord. You can have a home that is a no-pet home, has a no-pet policy. But something you just have to realize is that more and more renters are coming with furry friends. And so when you eliminate pets altogether, you are eliminating a large number of renters that might otherwise be a good fit for your home. So, is there a workaround solution that can keep you from the horror story, but also allows you to access a larger pool of potential renters? Well, I tend to think so. And I would say this, right? There is certainly no silver bullet when it comes to eliminating all liability. It's always there. If you've been a landlord for any length of time, you know that. But one of the things that I've learned, one of the things that I've experienced when it comes to pets, is that pets are usually a reflection of their owners, right? If you think back to that horror story that you experienced or you heard from someone else, more than likely it wasn't just the pet that was a problem, right? The tenants were probably causing mischief as well. Maybe they were always delinquent in their rent, or maybe when you did that move-out inspection, you found a lot of damage that wasn't the pets, it was the renters that had caused it as well. So usually what I've discovered is that if you have a good tenant, right, if you do proper screening and you select a tenant who has good credit and good rental history and has a good background, that more than likely their pets are going to be good housemates as well. And at the very least, if a pet does cause an issue, that tenant is going to come behind and make the repair necessary so that it doesn't end up being a bad mark on their credit or on their rental history. Because good tenants care about those things, right? So by selecting for good tenants, we can often ensure that our home, if they have a pet, is going to be protected as well just by the nature of who we're allowing to rent the home. Now, one last thing that I want to mention, talk about for a few minutes, which isn't really a pet, but oftentimes gets lumped into the pet conversation, is service animals, right? What are these? Well, service animals are animals that help someone with a physical disability be able to get along in life. And one of the things that a lot of landlords don't realize is that your house can be restricted as a no pet home, but you still have to accommodate service animals. Service animals are best looked at like you would look at someone in a wheelchair, right? You wouldn't deny someone coming into your home just because they're wheelchair bound or because they have some sort of a respiratory illness that requires them to have an oxygen tank. In the same way that you wouldn't deny someone moving into your home for those things, you can't deny someone who has a service animal either. Now, just because you have to let that person live in your home with their service animal doesn't mean that their service animal gets a hall pass. That tenant is still on the hook for damages that the service animal might cause. So if they do chew up a blind or some baseboard, they do have to fix it, right? So even though, again, you can't deny access to the home of someone who has a service animal or even charge additional fees or pet rent for a service animal, you still can keep them accountable for any damages as a result of that animal being in the property, right? So again, big picture, we want to make sure that as a tenant, we're being careful about the types of pets we're attaching to ourselves. And as a landlord, we're looking for alternative ways to screen for pets that don't really knock out all of the tenants that might be in our home otherwise. I'm David with Service Matters Property Management. I hope you've enjoyed this moment. I hope this has been a good year for you. Here's an early Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2024. Until then, take care.